Hello, 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 everybody. In the immortal words of LaFay. Um, kind of head empty today, but I've got a plan as opposed to just a complete throw at the wall. And the top of that plan is making bread. I'm gonna make bread, different kind of bread today. Let me put my face on the old screeneroo. Howdy. Uh, yeah. So I went to the farmer's market this morning, and they have exactly the same things that were there last week, plus radishes, um, which didn't really inspire me. Um, so I didn't get anything. Um, I think. Oh, what happened there? Oh, I know what happened there. Well, the papers on my fridge got wet. I'm wondering how that happened. That was me. I did that. Let's get those off of there, actually. So I'm gonna try a different kind of bread. I want to try a fast bread, but a yeasted bread. So a fast yeasted bread. The fastest yeasted breads are still pretty slow, so we have to get it started. Let's select a bowl. Whoa, a bunch of people just showed up. Hi, a bunch of lurkers. I'm calling you out, but not by name. Appreciate you being here. Let's use this bowl. Let's use that bowl. They're very similar bowls. Uh, so we're gonna try fast bread, which means it's gonna be done today, so I'm gonna be able to eat it hopefully before the end of the stream. And it starts with some warm water. So I've got to get my tap running to warm but not blazing hot. Water on my computer immediately. 3 cups. So that, but again. Okay. The water seems warm to me. Warmer than my body temp. At least. To which we shall add a tablespoon of sugar. This is key for a fast bread, and is the reason that there is so much sugar in American bread, is that the yeasts wake up much, much faster if you give them sugar. So if you want a fast bread, it's kind of unavoidable to put some sugar in it. Teaspoon, and a quarter. We'll stir that together, just using my finger, before I put the yeast in. The yeasts don't need to be stirred in as much. They will get the job done on their own as they seek out the sugars. But we need, and I don't get yeast in packets anymore. I get it in a jar. So I'm always annoyed by recipes that tell you an amount per packet, as though that's the standard. But a packet is 2 1/4 teaspoons. For those of you using imperial measurements, I don't know how much that is in proper measurements. This immediately smells very, very yeasty. And for this, it's important to do this not just because we're going to stir it a little bit. It's important to do this not just for the proving of the yeast, which literally comes from the idea that you have to make sure your yeast is alive. But also we need the yeast really to be active before we stick it in the flour, on account of we're trying to make this wake up pretty fast. So this water has also cooled down a little bit. I'm going to scrape the little yeasties off the sides that I accidentally got up there. This shall be the start of our bread, and I will put it over Mia. And then the only other ingredients to bread are salt and flour, and everything else is technique. So we shall measure out some flour in another bowl. Smaller bowl, we're going to add it to the water. Let's use this bowl. A lot of shiny surfaces today. Felix, you're first. Come in. A lot of shiny surfaces today. I hope my camera doesn't freak out. Turn on and start adding flour. By weight, we're adding 750 grams of flour, because you should always flour by weight, not by volume, because flour is extremely compressible. We're making a big bread. We might actually make 2 loaves here, and then I can share one. Because I think we're making a very large quantity of bread. Ooh, we're making a big bread here. Probably should have cut this recipe down. Well, here's an adventure. Because this is a lot of flour. This is okay. Almost. Okay, it's about double what I make from that no-knead loaf that I've done before. So I think we'll probably get 2 good breads out of this. Or 1 really big one. Bookwoman, welcome in. So, lots of flour. That's the end of our weighing needs. And then the only other ingredient is salt. My yeast is moving. Let's watch it a little bit. It's very reflective. Come on, move again. Well, it was moving. You'll just have to believe me. Where's my teaspoon measure? It is alive. We've proved it. I'm not going to add the salt to it immediately. We're going to add the salt to it when I add the flour to it. Because salt, although there's plenty of water in there, we're not going to raise the salinity to the point where it would kill off the yeasts. I don't want to inhibit them at this stage because they're just getting started. They're just waking up. Come on, guys. Get bubbly. Let's push it back to the side. And salt the flour. Salt the flour. And then this is all going to turn into a bread. I hope I picked a big enough bowl. Put the flour tower away, and I shouldn't have done that because I'm going to need flour later for dusting. So I was then trying to work out what the heck I would do while the bread was breading. And someone suggested shrimp and grits. Now, grits is another starch, but it's a decent idea. I just made, it was 2 days ago now, actually, this. Shrimp stock. I've had that bag of shrimp shells for ages, and I finally just cooked it down and made shrimp stock. Now, shrimp stock doesn't keep very long, so we do have to use it up. I also over concentrated it. There was too much for this jar, so I put it back in the pot and turned it on the heat just to simmer off some of the volume. And then when I got back to it, there was this much. So I added some more water to it. I think I lost some just crusted on the sides of the pot because I boiled it down too far. So I'm not sure how this is actually going to taste. I think we've lost a little bit of it. Smells very shrimpy though. So we could do a shrimp stock based shrimp and grits. I've got some shrimps. I've got the stock. I lack cheese of the appropriate type for putting in grits, but I've got a bunch of other stuff. That was a suggestion. Shrimp and grits was just a suggestion. We don't have to do shrimp and grits. If you guys have any ideas, please don't hesitate. I was uninspired at the farmer's market, as I mentioned right at the start when nobody was here yet. So I don't have anything elaborate in mind. It's humid and warm today, and we're supposed to have thunderstorms later, which we really, really need. I thought humidity would be good for bread, the concept of bread. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys, because I also have this mushroom stock, which has separated a lot of sediment, which we could use in a similar fashion. This also won't keep very long. Stocks don't keep super long. In both of these cases, the stocks are not made from anything that has bones, so there's no connective tissues in them, so they're very liquidy at any concentration. The mushroom stuff is pretty concentrated and pretty dark brown. They're both also unsalted. Well, I think I ended up putting some salt in the mushroom one because I was using it. We've also still got some mushrooms. I've got a breadfruit. I don't think I want to go with the breadfruit today. We've had some breadfruit adventures recently, and I think we're going to hold off on going back to that well just yet. We've still got some asparagus. We've still got some rhubarb. Odds and ends. Any thoughts? Any thoughts from the peanut gallery? Whoa. My subscriber count just went up. My subscriber count just went up. So thank you, wherever that came from. I don't see a notification. Shrimp and grits. Did you? It didn't show up as a notification for me at all. Let me refresh the page. Huh. Well, thank you so much. Twitch did not inform me of this fact. Well, thank you so much. Weird. Yeah. I normally I jump and thank people when that happens. It did not. It very much did not tell me just now that you did that. Well, thank you. I of course appreciate it immensely. Every little bit counts. Every little bit helps. But I wonder why it's not letting me know. Oh well. Thanks. What was I doing? I was thinking about food. If we're doing shrimp, we need to thaw some shrimp. So let's get back over here. Let's get into a bag of shrimps. And do I have any bacon? I do. And some bacon. And how much butter do I have out? Most of a stick. And some butter. Twitch is being twitchy, I guess. Twitch is losing its mind. It seems to do that more and more often lately, ever since the round of layoffs. Wonder if they're connected. Well, I appreciate it either way. Let's see. We don't need to thaw the bacon. Bacon can go right in the pan pre-thawed, but we need to thaw these shrimps. I guess we're gonna get started on our next round of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, lucky 7 shrimps. We're gonna get started on our next round of shells for stock right away. Okay, put those in a bowl of water. I chose warm water because I want to speed up the thawing process. Yeah, that is happening, isn't it? If only there was not de facto monopolies in every sector. I've talked to a number of people here on Twitch who say, boy, if there was somewhere else to go, I'd be out of here. But all the alternatives suck. Um, hear that, Twitch? They're not listening. They did just back down off of their last cockamamie scheme. This week, they announced that they were going to crack down on third-party sponsorship deals between streamers and uh, companies for advertising because they weren't getting a cut, and and streamers have been doing that because the cut from subs has been lackluster, let's say. And sponsorship deals are much more reliable. They were thankfully talked off of that precipice because that would have been, I think, a disaster for the platform. That would be a point where large quantities of people. No, they haven't reduced it again. It's still the same as it was before. It's just that it's not great, and many people who do this as a living in the medium and small channel range have to supplement with sponsorships just for the reliability and consistency. So no, my cut is the same, and I have not been receiving sponsorships because I'm not large enough to attract them yet. And as long as I keep running the ads the way I have, I get a cut of that, although the payouts from those ads have been a little bit laughable. The ads might actually not be worth it to run at all, except that it encourages people to sub. We're just shaving off some bacon. We're going to start some bacon rendering. Speaking of the business end of all this, I've launched an Instagram, if you're not aware. It is the same name as I have here, but there's an underscore in the middle because I couldn't get it without the underscore. So it's Jovial_Jovian, where I'm posting pictures of foods in a place where they are more easily archived than the disaster of Twitter. I don't even know how to go back and look for old things that I've posted on Twitter. They're just kind of lost. Thankfully, I saved all of those photos so I can upload the old photos as well, which I will do as soon as I can think of captions. I don't really have caption ideas for them. Pretty sure everybody here probably already knows that, but if you didn't, now you do. Okay, we want to gently render out some bacon. So I'm going to put it on a 5. I don't want it to get real crispy crazy. Move my board and knife away. I think our yeast, it's developing a foamy top here. So I think we are at the stage of wanting to combine it with our flour. And we will start stirring it with a wooden spoon. I have never made Irish soda bread. I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever eaten it either, but I have heard of it. Our goal today is to make a white bread, um, which should only require a short rise, aided by the uh, warm and humid weather. I feel like this wouldn't work out if I tried to make it in the middle of winter when it's super, super dry, but we have a humid day. On account of there being, fingers crossed, some thunderstorms. When I put the spoon down, there's theoretically a thunderstorm coming, and we really, really need the rain. This dough seems awfully sticky. We have an ad coming up in a few seconds. If it's too sticky to handle, which this definitely is, add more flour. Damn, I added a lot of flour to this to start with, but it is definitely too wet, which is weird because it's lower hydration than other doughs I've made, but it's definitely like super sticky. Um, okay. Well, good thing I got the flour tar out. Um, oh, I washed that one. That one's wet. Let's add. Let's get just a scoop spoon, a scoopy spoon. We got to add flour to this until it becomes a more of a dough than a batter. We're currently more of a batter. So I'm just going to add a scoop and stir it in until we hit the appropriate consistency of a dough that you can work with. Because we have to be able to handle this because it needs to be kneaded. Uh, I wonder if this is because of the ambient humidity. It's already seems better. Of course, mix until combined. I've got a reference recipe up. from Simple and Delicious today. Because I never trust myself in baking enough to do it just by ear, especially after that disaster with the second round of the French baguettes that got all weird. Okay, this is still sticky, but it's starting to separate from the bowl, which is a good sign. So we'll add another scoop. Get it off of the spoon. I think we're going to get to the point where I can actually shape it with my hand. Come on, get off of me. Good thing I put that bacon on real low to render instead of high to crisp. Otherwise, I would be probably burning it right now. Let me rinse the goop off my hand. Get a scraper. Okay. Still might need more flour, actually. It's sticking to me more than it's sticking to the bowl. Well, the reference recipe has failed me, because this is a lot more flour than they called for that amount of water. It's only just now to the point where I'm because it's still got sticky bits in it. We just need to get those sticky bits combined with the dry bits. Oh, Christ's sake. As soon as I say that, I just start to glue to my hands. The heck, bread? What the heck? I was almost ready to try to turn it out to combine it, but then it went just glue on me again. Frickin' bread. Morning, Cizan. This bread is not behaving. Behave. Ugh. Rinse my hands off. Like, went really gloopy all of a sudden. Thing is, there's still some dry flour in the bowl. I just can't get the flour over to, or the dough over to it because it's so freaking sticky. It might be too humid. That might be exactly what it is. Or it's just not playing nice. Bread is very flour up my hands. Bread is very weather sensitive. We're back to sticking at the bottom of the bowl, which is exactly what I don't want it to be doing. So when you're sticking at the bottom, I can't get underneath you to get flour down there. Get up, pick up. There. Now the sticky part's at the top and glued to me badly. When it's stuck to the bottom, it's a problem. I can't get under it to get the flour down to where it needs to be at the sticky part. Okay. Let's look at our bacon. Okay. Okay. Turn the bacon down a little bit. I don't want it to go crispy, too crispy just yet. Well, we could add a little bit of butter to it. Okay. So, how's everyone's morning going? Mine's going about like what you can see here, where I'm fighting with a ball of dough for much longer than I should be. Immediately starts sticking again. Okay. We don't need to knead it too much at this stage. It just needs to not be so freaking sticky. No, the bacon will distract from the bread. The title isn't bacon. The title is bread. Okay. Frickin' bread. Close enough. It needs to rise. For a while. For a bit. Stayed too up with Zelda. I stayed up too late as well. So, funny thing, yesterday, the past several weeks, I've been getting up quite early. I think somewhere around 7 o'clock. Just organically getting up. It's been nice. I've had a nice morning. Uh, I've I've rather enjoyed it. Um, Yesterday, I woke up super early, like not quite light yet early, like 5 o'clock ish. And I got up, went to the bathroom, I'm gonna go back to bed, and slept another 4 hours. Got up pushing 9:30, and that threw off the whole rest of the day. I didn't get tired then until very late last night. But then this morning I woke up at 7, so I'm running currently on not a lot of sleep. Okay, bacon's looking pretty rendery. Let's throw in, get our board back, more ingredients. I don't know what goes into shrimp and grits. I'm not clicking on New York Times. Shrimp and grits. Bacon, garlic, green onions, cheddar cheese. I'm gonna wing it. We're gonna wing it. We're not gonna follow the recipe. We're just gonna start throwing stuff at it, and it's gonna be delicious. Here, I've got part of an onion that I used the other day, so we may as well use that. Throw that in. Bring the heat back up to frying heat, a sautéing heat, because I like onions. I've also got this other part of an onion that we're gonna just do the same thing with. It's actually part of the same onion. It's the other part of the same onion. Doing laundry on a Saturday. I avoid doing laundry on the weekends because I have to go to a laundromat. On the weekends, the laundromats are unpleasant. Okay. Added some onion to our bacon. Get that slowly rendering it, or not rendering. You don't render onions, you sweat them. To hasten the sweating, we're going to give them just a dash of salt. Not too much because there's already salt in the bacon. We don't want the finished result to be too salty. I'm also going to add a little bit of butter because I don't think we got quite enough fat from the bacon. So, butter. Butter. And that butter needs to then actually touch the pan so that it can melt. Our shrimps have thawed, so let's pour the water off. Shell them. We need a new shrimp bag. We need a new shells bag. Uninvited house guest. Some manner of small fly. Here, oh, I got shrimpy fingers now. Rinse off my shrimpy fingers. So these are, I can never get just whole shrimp, but these are pre-veined shrimp. So they've been split along the back to get the poop shoot out of them, which makes them very easy to peel. You just kind of grab the edges of the shell, fold it back, and it pinches away along the little leggy bits. And then all you got to do is pinch right where the fan part of the tail meets the solid part of the tail, and it squeezes the little tail bit out so that you don't break it off. I used to break off my shrimps a lot. This works on a cooked shrimp too. If you cook it with the little tail bit on, all you got to do is pinch real hard at that bottom bit where the little fan is, and it comes out instead of breaking off and wasting that little end piece. Someday I'll get whole shrimps and we'll do the whole process where we take off the heads and devein them and play with the little antennas. Oh, that guy's missing part of his shell. I got shrimp because shrimp are on sale again, finally. Or affordable again, finally, I should say. Some shrimp, I should say, are some shrimp have become affordable again. And by affordable, they're still a little bit pricey, but you don't use a lot of shrimp. That's a key thing with shrimp. Don't use a lot. When you use them, don't use a lot. We've got 7 shrimps here. So the package of shrimp that I purchased will last quite a while. And of course, always save your shells in a freezer bag. And then when the bag is full, boil them into stock. Should have made, the stock was really boring to make on camera. It was too boring for me to make on camera, so I didn't. But it's very, very simple. I did it in the slow cooker, but I should have just done it in a pot on the stove, because you don't need as long of a cook for shrimp shells. It's done in about an hour usually. I did add a tiny splash of vinegar this time, which is supposed to increase the extraction rate of the minerals in the shells by acidifying the water. Just a little bit though. I didn't measure it out. It was a splash of vinegar into 2 quarts of water. We should make the grits part of this if I'm gonna make grits. Where is my cornmeal? Got dizzy all of a sudden there. I don't know what that was about. Um, 3, 4 cups, 4 to 1. We'll do half a cup. Okay. We need a pot, and we need to measure out my liquids. We're going to hydrate our cornmeal in cold first. So we're taking half a cup cornmeal, to which we add half a cup cold shrimp stock. Stir to combine. A fork is fine for this. Goal here is to hydrate the cornmeal in cold liquid so that it doesn't seize up into lumps when it gets into the hot liquid. My shrimp actually has some sediment at the bottom, which I think is some flavor compounds. So I'm gonna stir it up before I do the hot part, because I actually want to get those sediments in my finished results. As I said, I overcooked it a little bit, so I think some of the stuff is just kind of getting separated. Oh, Saizan, you moistened me 20 minutes ago. I wasn't even paying attention. Let me get a glass. I don't even have anything ready. Belated, moist. Let's come over to the stove. That can come down a little bit. Before I commit, we're gonna downgrade the pot. Oop. And it's been long enough since the last moisten that we immediately have a follow-up. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. Okay. So 2 of those of the shrimp stock, which gets our total of the shrimp stock down, and then I'm going to add some milk to make it a little bit creamy, a little bit milky. My 99-cent milk. We also need to add some butter to that. Did I put my butter? I did put the butter away. Butter, come back. I don't know how much butter to add. Probably just one tablespoon of butter. Third a cup of. We're not adding a third of a cup of butter. That's insane. We're adding 1 pat of butter. And then turning the heat on, bring that up to a simmer. Okay, butter away. All this bacon and butter sure sounds healthy. We need ad coming up. We need to stay cognizant of all the nonsense that I'm doing so I don't lose track and burn stuff. Oh, I need to wash my large sheet pan. I don't think it's actually dirty. Actually, I don't think it's dirty at all. We used it to hold dumplings, but I had a paper on it, so actually I think it's clean. I'm looking at it now. The only thing it had on it was the paper from the dumplings, and then we didn't even put the cooked ones on it. So, because we're going to need it because the bread does not. The bread is going to be cooked on the sheet pan. Speaking of bread, our bread has gotten wider, but not much taller. Should I? The answer is yes. Let's grab one of these. I've got some mushrooms here in the fridge. Still. The mushroom season appears to have ended. It's gotten too hot for these outdoor mushrooms. The wine caps stopped producing. And this one that I've got here appears to be a little bit too cold. And it froze slightly to adjust my refrigerator. But I'm adding a little bit of mushroom to goose up our stuff there. Splitsies, splitsies. In this case, I'm using the stem as well. These mushrooms, I ensured, did not have a bunch of unwelcome hitchhikers like the last time. That was slightly embarrassing when that happened. Oh. It is a fact of life when you get homegrown, farm-fresh ingredients that they often have critters, because there's critters out there. Critters that get filtered out when you're making them for this packaged food. We need a Cajun spice mix. This is supposed to be a spiced thing, so let's start assembling that. I'm going to eyeball these, but it should be about 1 part each, I think. Smoked paprika. Ooh, instead of cayenne, let's go with chipotle for that double smoke flavor, even though that's definitely not the right spice. black pepper. I had some white pepper when I was fussing around in here. Whatever happened to that? White pepper. Onion powder. Garlic powder. Oregano. And thyme. We're using dried thyme this time. Thyme. And that's a pretty happy mix as far as I'm concerned. I feel like there's supposed to be more oil in our pan and that our onions and mushrooms have soaked it up. So I might just add a dab of oil, perhaps even a dab of water, just to loosen up the pan a little bit. Oh, our that stuff is foaming like mad, which means we definitely need to add our grits to it. Stir them in real quick. Good thing I had the heat on low. I've been distracted and I didn't even realize it was doing that. Also, thankfully, it was only a third milk. If it had been all milk, it definitely would have boiled over. Whoa, and it is volcanoing immediately. That's not the right lid. Stop volcanoing, please. Okay. Let's start the shrimps. Again, this pan is on very low heat. So I'm going to just gently arrange the shrimps to hopefully steam more than fry off. Temperature up just a scooch, just a scooch. How long has that bread been in there? Check on the bread. Here's our bread. It's gotten bigger, for sure. I think it needs a little bit more rise time. This is supposed to be a quick not a quick bread, but like a short rise bread. But it's said that you could get away with 30 minutes, but ideally you want an hour. I feel weird this morning. I don't know why. Something's off. Something's off, and I don't know what it is. Can't put my finger on it. So I'm not sure how long I want to wait. It's no longer sticky on top, but it is slightly tacky. Oh, and it's really blown out on the camera. I guess I'll just keep leaving it here. We could put it in a warm. My oven doesn't go low enough to really do a proving warm. Just put it in the sun. Yeah. Well, this is what I get for head empty cooking. We might have to scrounge up another thing, because shrimp and grits doesn't take that long. I do need some green onion for it. Let's grab some green onion real quick. Hello there, little bee. Wow, you're a fancy one. I'm gonna have to look you up later. Don't come after me, little bee. Sun is shining, birds are singing. This isn't a good sign. I want a thunderstorm. Fun little bee friend who was bright green. Well, I should have left you looking at the shrimps. You can see them gradually turning pink. He was bright green, that bee. He was enjoying the flowers on my onions. I'm gonna have to look him up. I don't know much about green bees. Green bee. You've seen them too. Let's look him up right now. Green bee. What kind of bee is green? No, not that kind, because that wasn't an orchid. The green bee. Oh, there it is. It was a bicolor striped sweat bee, I think. The bicolor striped sweat bee is the official bee of Toronto. Neat. Neat! Let's take a peek at our grits. How you looking, grits? Are you overcooked? You might be overcooked. You're overcooked. Definitely a little bit overcooked. Went hard on the bottom. I will not sacrifice that. We're going to scrape those crispy bits up because I think they will improve the overall dish with some texture. We're going to toss around our shrimps to give them a little bit more pan contact so they can finish cooking. I think they're going to be just perfect on account of the very low heat I'm giving them. Add our green onion. I kind of want to add parsley, but I'm out of parsley. I don't have another leafy green. My parsley was super wilty, and I just sacrificed it. Oh, I should have put some ramps in this. Oh well, too late now. Those need to be cooked out a bit. You can't throw them in right at the end. My frozen ramp. I'll show off some of my frozen ramps. They're in these big old bags now. Where's the other one? That's shrimp. Just showing stuff off now. Oops. Big old bag of ramp cubes. We got different sizes. We're working with different sizes. We got the giant cubes. We got the little ice cube sized ones. These are the ones that I did not mince up in the food processor. I just blanched them and blanched them and froze them. Where did I put the ones that I did mince up? Because I minced up some of them. I think I may have gotten shoved. I think they may have gotten shoved. Yeah, there they are. They got shoved in pretty hard. My freezer is once again chock-a-block full. Okay. I'm going to call this ready to serve. And then we're going to figure out what to do for Act 2. Wow, look at that terrible, terrible lighting. Wow, look at that terrible lighting. God, this camera acts differently every day. It's so weird. It's so weird. So, our grits got a little bit crispy on the bottom, but that's fine. Like a paella, you can eat the crispy bits, and they provide a different flavor and a different texture than the top part. If this had not been in a nonstick, we would have definitely lost the crispy bits because they would have just stuck. But the nonstick releases them. There you go. Grits with the crispy bits. To which I am adding my shrimp onion mushroom mixture. The shrimps, of course, rolled right off the top in a way that I don't appreciate. I cannot say that this is a traditional shrimp and grits. This is probably about as far away as you can get while still calling it the same dish. It's hot. I keep getting little bits on the edges where I want the bits to not be. Okay. Part one of our filling time is this. Behold. Behold. Really, what the heck is up with this camera today? Really poorly color balanced shrimp and grits. I'm gonna go take a picture of it. Come back, start eating it. We can talk about Act 2 and some bread. The bread should probably get advanced soon. Check nothing in my oven. I'm gonna preheat my oven now. We want to bake the bread. What should we do for Act 2? Now that I'm just kind of, now we're fully into just winging it territory. Knocking my microphone pack around. Okay. Oh, I'm 100% confident this is going to taste good. That's not a worry at all. But let's try it. Let's test it. So we're going to get a bit of our grits, a bit of our topping, and at least one of our shrimps. It's hot. Mm. Mm. Okay, we got the shrimp just right. The shrimp are just cooked. Little resistance, a little bit of a snap when you bite through them, but nice and tender and cooked to the middle. Benefited from the low heat. The topping it's smoky and spicy and herbaceous. It's that Cajun spice mix. They really combine really well together. It's also got this lovely richness to it. Ow, it's hot with Jovial Jovian. Mm. And the grits, by themselves, try a little piece off the side here. They taste like corn, and they're faintly creamy. I don't think I can taste the shrimp stock in them, but I'm sure I would notice the difference if I tasted it without, side by side. It's probably just giving us some depth. I actually really like these chewy bits from the burnt bottom. That was a mistake, but we've embraced it. The chewy bits are a nice texture because they're dissimilar to the texture of the topping as well. They're not crispy, they're not crunchy, they're just kind of chewy, probably on account of the proteins in the stock and the um, milk kind of binding together. It has a nice richness to it without being overpowering. You know what it needs? You know what it needs is just a splash of citrus. I'm not going to cut open a whole lime for this, but we're going to give it a sprinkle of lemon. A little bit of acidity, a little bit of brightness, a little bit of citrus to help balance out the richness. And citrus and seafood go well together, just in general. Mm-hmm. That brightens it up quite well. I should have put that in the pan with my sauces, or with my topping when I was cooking it. I could have cut that lime, put a little bit of lime zest in there and half a juice. That would have been good. That would have been a good combo. We obviously can't go back for that now. So a little sprinkle of prepared lemon juice at the end is a decent compromise. I'm going to continue noshing on that because we have to now move on. I want to enjoy it while it's hot, but we're not done yet. Because we are supposed to be making a bread. The title says bread. The title doesn't say shrimp and grits. The title says bread. And our bread has been in long enough for me to move on to phase 2 with this fast, quote unquote, fast bread. So we're going to flour our worktop. Wow, the color. I don't know what the heck's up with this camera. Every time I use it, it seems like it's slightly different. Now we're all like washed out. Everything looks like it's skewed to the cool side. Here's our bread. It's gotten quite a bit bigger. Let's get it out of there. After only an hour, we've gotten quite a bit larger. Let me find my cursor. Where are you, cursor? And pull up this reference recipe. Preheat the oven. We're doing that. We're supposed to steam the oven, so we'll do that as well. Turn out the dough, fold, divide, and knead very little. Add flour if it's too sticky. Oh, it's definitely too sticky. Over here, it's a big boy too. Okay. Fold in half. Oop. Punch out any really obvious oversized bubbles. We need to divide down the middle. This is a very supple, soft dough we've got going on here. It's got some pretty good sized bubbles in it too. This is not the kind of bread I'm used to. Let's get that sticky cut side folded over on itself. Now, the recipe I'm looking at calls for no additional rising time. It's supposed to go right in the oven. Now, I've definitely punched some of the air out of it. So we might... Oop, there's a whole seam on that side. Oop, and that part is sticky as well. It's sticky, but it takes extra flour pretty well. But it's going to at least have more time to rise as we wait for the oven to heat up, because the oven's not hot yet. And I'm going to, since we have the cornmeal as part of the rest of this, we're going to cornmeal the baking tray. So there'll be a crunchy bottom on these guys. Baking tray. Cornmealed baking tray. Gently, gently handle it so as to not knock that cornmeal back around. Close up our cornmeal. Put it away. Gently pick up our bread baby. This one, I think, actually wants to be folded out the other way. Gently pick up our bread baby. Okay, in theory, these are now ready for the oven. So whenever it is hot, we can stick them in there. No loaf pan needed. This is a strange recipe I'm following. No loaf pan, just a sheet. So we're giving it a tester. I am going to give them each a slice to encourage splitting along the top instead of blowing out the side. They're still very pillowy feeling to me. Yes, score at the top. Our oven just went to hot, but I'm supposed to have a steam bath in there, so I need to get that ready. We're going to use my Dutch oven and some hot water. I was supposed to put the steam bath in there when I started the oven, but I was distracted. So Dutch oven, halfway up with water. Oh, it doesn't fit under that tray. Shoot. Okay, well, Dutch oven doesn't work. Too tall. Too tall for second row. this thing, which we've used as a water bath before. Fill up with water. We're supposed to do this because we need to steam our crusts to help them get crusty. So, but yeah, this is a strange recipe. This is a strange old recipe I've got here. So we'll see how it turns out. It makes quite a bit. I could have cut this in half and made one of these. I didn't, but I could have. And that's going to be in there for a half hour, so I got to think about something. Shrimp and grits is, by the way, damn tasty. Damn. I should just say about this bread. This is supposed to be a no knead 2-hour rustic loaf. And it recommends cooking it on a pizza stone, which I don't have. Presumably for the thermal mass, which suggests that this might be the kind of recipe that you would do in a stone oven, like a traditional oven, where the baked good goes directly on the bottom of the oven instead of on a thing. We are now waiting for my oven to heat up. I don't want to do anything else until that. Well, I'll eat more shrimp and grits, but I won't do anything else until that is up to scratch. We could definitely make something to go with the bread. How does onions and rhubarb sound? Yay, nay. Nay, yay. That might just be a wild experiment. So the oven lost temperature when I opened it twice just now, and then I put in a cold pan. I have a Vidalia onion that I picked up. I rarely pick up Vidalia onions because I know I think they're kind of overhyped, but it is a sweet, high sugar, low sulfur variety of onion. So the thought I just had was use some rhubarb, use some Vidalia onion, cook them slow, like caramelize the onion, bring out the sweetness, and use that with the tartness of the rhubarb to make like a sweet rhubarb onion jammy thing. That's what has come into my head. And as you know, my head is full of crazy, stupid ideas. And it should be just about the right amount of time to bake off the bread, too. So, That was the click of the oven. So we're going to put these guys in there. I can hear my water boiling too, so we have steam. Oh, we definitely have steam. Hopefully they aren't too flat. Okay, let's clean up the flour. You can't hardly see the flour because of the way this camera is acting today. This is why I need a better camera here, so that I have one that I know how it's going to behave, instead of it going, well, I guess everything's blue today. Ugh, we're gonna have to thoroughly clean this. I got some flour under my spice rack just now, so that'll attract silverfish. Okay. Make sure my board is clean. The board is back. The pan is out. If we're doing this the way I'm thinking we're doing this, we need some butter, but not too much. Or do we need some water? Well, we're going to start the onion. So I've used part of it because I had a sandwich and I put some Vidalia onion on it. But this is a Vidalia onion. These onions are enormous, and they are sweet enough that you can literally just take a bite. I was skeptical, tried it myself. It still tastes oniony, but it definitely doesn't have the pungency. And they come from Vidalia, I want to say Georgia. And it's less the variety of onion than it is the growing conditions in which they grow the onions. The variety is important too. It's a sweet onion, but the soils around Vidalia are so low in sulfur that the onions aren't able to take up enough sulfur to form those strong compounds that make onions taste oniony. It's in fact so sulfur deficient that the farmers have to add some sulfur because onions won't grow at all without some sulfur. But it results in onions that have just a hint of that pungency, but mostly a lot of sweetness. People have tried taking these onions and growing them elsewhere, and they're still sweet onions, but they have much more of the sulfurous pungency. You have to be very, very careful about where you grow them. And that's the story of Vidalia onions. There are definitely other places in the world where you could get the same soil conditions. They wouldn't be called Vidalia onions because it's one of those cases where that's the place. The name Vidalia isn't the variety, it's the place. So they would just be called like giant sweet onion outside of Vidalia. They're very sweet, so we're going to try caramelizing them here in the pan. So I've cut them relatively small. I didn't bother with shaving them down the way you're supposed to. Put them on pretty low heat. And don't be afraid to add water. We don't really, like, when you're caramelizing onions the normal way, you add a little bit of butter to them. So I think we might do that just to make sure that they get started. Where's my butter? There's my butter. Just to make sure they get started properly. But I don't want too much because we're not going for a savory application here. So just a bit of butter to start the pan. We do not want to brown them. We do not want to brown the butter. They will need some salt. You can caramelize onions without salt, but, thank you for the moisten. Moist. You can caramelize onion without salt, but it is more difficult. And as we learned last week from our rhubarb, rhubarb cooks quite a bit faster than other vegetables. Don't forget, rhubarb's a vegetable. Put the other half of our onion in there. And put our butter away. Used a lot of butter today. Used more butter than I was expecting to today. Heat up our pan and start slicing some rhubarbs. These are the same rhubarbs from last week. I just still have some. I didn't use them in between. I did take the leaves off the tops. We're going for the reddest ones. And we're going to take the little dried up ends off the bottom. And then thinly slice them on the bias. So I was thinking, rhubarb is a vegetable, but culinarily it is used like a fruit. We have several examples of fruits that are culinarily used as vegetables. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplants. I couldn't think of, off the top of my head, any other examples of a vegetable that is used in the manner of a fruit, aside from rhubarb. Can you think of any? This knife needs to be sharpened. We also might add a little bit of sugar to this as we go. Oop, and I can hear the onions starting to sizzle, so we're going to take the temperature down on them because we do not want them to brown. And Vidalias especially will brown fast on account of all that sugar we were just talking about. So temp down. Bring us over. Oh, no, don't change the order of things on my... And if at any point we do start to see browning, we just add water to put the pan back to a manageable temperature. Don't worry about adding water. Water inhibits browning, which is why you don't typically want a bunch of water in your pan when you're sautéing something. But for caramelization, we want to inhibit the browning because we want it to caramelize, not brown. Even though it turns brown in the end, it's a different process. So don't be afraid if your pan gets too browny and hot to just dose up some water. In fact, we're going to start it with some water. And then hopefully this gets done in time for me to use it with that bread. Okay, anything else that goes in there? So far we've got onions and rhubarb, which are typically not the types of ingredients you think of in this situation. The rhubarb is bringing us a lot of acidity, a lot of sourness. This particular onion should be bringing us a bunch of sweetness and very little pungency, as I mentioned several times now. It's got a bit of salt in it, and I worry that we might need to add a little bit of sugar to it because the rhubarb is sharp, and I don't want the saltiness to take over. There's also a little bit of butter in there, so it sounds pretty good. It just needs to be cooked down. That sounds pretty good to me. It just needs to be cooked down. And I need to keep enjoying my shrimp and grits before they get ice cold. Thankfully, grits retains heat pretty well. So even as the top sort of chills out, it's got this mass of grits underneath it that is holding on to some heat for me. Yeah. So we're closing in on noon. I don't want to peek at my bread just yet, but I did not look at the time when I put it in. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Does anyone remember how long the bread has been in there? I don't want to peek at it because I don't want to let the steam out. I guess that's a no. I guess that's a generalized no. I want to guess that it's been around 15 minutes. Based on the timers on my ads, my ad tracker. Because I recall there being an ad just about to play when I was taking it out of the bowl. And honestly, I would rather it be a little overbaked than a little underbaked. It'll be a little extra crusty, but I would not. If I overbake it, it'll be extra crusty and a bit dry. If I underbake it, it'll be, as Paul Hollywood would say, stodgy, which is honestly much harder to work with down the line. You can save dry bread. It's really hard to save underbaked bread because it's still got some raw dough in it. And you can't, once you've cut into it, you can't really rebake it. Got a couple stalks of rhubarb here for the future. Our rhubarb onion mixture is simmering. Which is a good sign. I'm pushing it slightly to the middle to ensure that there are no bits riding up the sides that might get toasted. I should probably catch up on some dishes while I'm sort of just standing around. Let's see, the Dutch oven was just water, so that can stay put and just be there. The faucet's already hot as well because I heated it up for the steam bath. So this is an excellent time to do some quick dishes so I have less to do later. As long as we're just standing around. As Mr. McDonald's once said, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. In his case, it was a matter of forcing his employees to never stop working and take no breaks during the day. So that's less than ideal. But for a home cook, it's a reasonable it's a reasonable adage. If you're standing around waiting for something, soap up and clean. Miss Sepsi, good morning. The caramelized onions and rhubarb are planned to be a jammy topping for the rustic loaves we have going on in the oven right now. They are our second side project. The first one being the shrimp and grits that are still visible and half-eaten on the countertop camera. Which are, by the way, fantastic. Very delicious. Welcome in. How's your morning been? Ooh, I can't quite. Wonderful. I can't quite see you from across the room. Just barely make out the words. I didn't have any inspiration from the farmer's market, which is why we're doing kind of a thing here. I didn't want to dive into a reprisal of dumplings right away. But I wanted some bread. I need some bread just for having bread. You know. The farmer's market we're entering that lull phase. A lot of the spring crops are leaving. They still have asparagus, but it's starting to get real skinny and leggy as the as the stalks bolt. If I was growing it at home, that's the stage when I would just say, screw it, they can have it. Stop picking, let it set itself up for next year. I don't have that many dishes overall. Who am I going to share all that bread with? Who knows? There's 2 whole loaves. I could just hand somebody a loaf and be like, here, have bread. Hey, buddy, you want to buy a bread? They still got rhubarb. This is how I know that the green onions that they sell at the farmer's market are just young regular onions, because they all have little bulbs on them now. A week ago they were all straight to the bottom, just like the store-bought scallions are. Now they all have little bulbs forming on the bottom, which bunching onions don't do, because they didn't plant bunching onions. They just planted regular onions and picked a bunch of them when they were very, very young to sell as green onions, probably as part of thinning. And then the remainder will grow into large onions. And that's honestly a very, very sensible way to grow onions. But it means that the onions you get there are a different variety. And as they age, they develop that little bulb at the bottom. And they get kind of oniony and pungent compared to scallions, which stay much milder for their entire life cycle. So we were at the stage of onions, in my opinion, when farmers market onions aren't good. Although the first shallots and spring garlics have shown up as well, which are being sold specifically for the bulbs, which are still rather small but usable. I also saw radishes, which I'm sure we got a little bit early on account of the weird weather. And one person had beets already, and I don't know how you grew edibly sized beets that quickly. We have an ad coming up. That probably means that the bread is just about there. Okay. Rhubarbs have fully disintegrated into a mushy paste. Our onions still have some structure to them. The whole pan has dried out just a bit, so I'm going to give it a splash of water, but not too much. Stir the water in, just keeping it wetted to ensure that we're not going to stick to the bottom and brown up, because then we run a risk of burning and we lose some of our caramelization. I probably want to put a lid on this too to keep the steam in. This pan does not have a fitted lid. But this one's pretty close. And then we bring the temperature down a little bit. We've just had an ad, so let's move these things Since I just cleared my sink, I can put them there. Move those things and let's peek at the bread, I guess. How you looking, breads? Whoa! I could share bread with he bakes his own bread. He has a sourdough that he cultivates and keeps making sourdoughs. So, do we think the bread is done? Because it's done a thing. Ooh, that's hot. It's really steamy in there. Whoa. Behold, bread. Hot dang. Those came out great. I am a little concerned about the interiors. I don't know if you can quite see, but there's spotting on the upper surface here, which indicates that there were some large bubbles near the surface that may have gone a little bit toasty on us. But let's try to get this bread. Now, the bread is very, very hot. I need to turn the oven off. And that, okay, the steam bath has still got water in it. It's hot. My only concern is that the middles might not be all the way. We definitely can't cut into them at this stage, because then it definitely won't work. They need to rest for a bit. Oop. But let me try to show one of them off. If this is as good as I hope it is, this might be my new go-to bread recipe, because this was easy. This was so easy. So let's try to get one of these off of the... Oh, it smells like bread. It's not extremely yeasty. Nope, the cornmeal's coming off on my oven mitt. Can you hear the... Sounds hollow. It sounds hollow. I don't want to poke these. I could check the internal temp. I actually don't know what the target internal temp for bread is. We'd have to look that up. They do need to get off of that tray and onto a rack. Oh, and it's hot. It's hot. It's hot enough that it's getting through my oven mitt, because I'm just kind of holding it with like an idiot. Like a fool. Okay. They do need to get off that tray and onto a rack. There's one of them. And there's the other one. That guy stuck a little bit. I think I may have handled them a little bit too much, but they did rise really, really beautifully. I have to wash the oven mitts to get the cornmeal out of them. They're slightly irregular, but there they are. There they be. We're going to go take a photo of them at the photo station, because that'll be a much nicer photo. A much nicer view of them. I'm glad I decided to cut the slits. Based on some of the smaller breaks and seams, these things would have just ripped themselves in half if I hadn't. Very airy dough by the looks of it. So a A scored top is definitely a necessity here. I doubt we're actually going to be able to cut into them, because I would say they probably need at least an hour to rest. They're very crusty on the top. Oh, I left you looking at nothing. They're very crusty on the top, but they've got a good, gentle give to them. But yeah, you don't really want to cut into bread. They're firm to the touch. They have a hollow sound on the bottom, which is my knowledge of how to test breads is you thump the bottom, and if it sounds hollow, then you're good. Because thumping the top doesn't tell you anything, because air pockets inside the bread want to rise, so you can get the top hollowing out before the bottom does. It's when the bottom is more hollowed out that you have ensured that it's baked and airy all the way through to the bottom. So it had a hollow thump on the bottom, and it's firm to the touch to the point where I could pick them up and handle them quite easily without them sagging at all. And when I poke them, there's no real give. They're not rigid like rocks, but they're solid. So I'm going to call that good enough. I think they've actually probably been in there a little bit longer because I lost track of the time. But bread is one of those things, much like when you're making the dough. I've learned this now because with our various bread practices. Much like when you're making the dough, it's more about getting the right result than about sticking to the hard, perfect measurements, the hard, perfect times, because they are so weather dependent. But yes, definitely don't cut into that until it has had a chance to cool off. Otherwise, the interior, which has still got a lot of active steam in it, will escape all that steam, and your bread will go weird on you. It'll be edible, but it won't be nice, perfect bread. Which means we're not going. Those are pretty large loaves. We're not going to be able to get to them, I think, today. What we're going to do is we're going to attempt to finish off this. And taste it. I'm going to keep nibbling on my shrimp and grits over here. Delicious shrimp and grits. And yes, photos of the various things will be going up on the Twitter and the Instagram and on some Discords, if you're in any of the Discords that I post in. My own Discord. Pipe sake. How do I share a Discord link? I'm thinking of it right now. There are people in chat. I'm going to throw it at you. How do I do that? Oh. Open it. Name. Invite people. Bam! Bam! I made a Discord. There's almost nothing to it. If you're reading this now, you're invited. There's literally almost nothing to it, but there you go. If you're interested. If you're not, whatever. I also I haven't taken the time to learn any of the Discord stuff, except as a user. So, there you go. If you abuse it, you're out. I'll ban you. I'll put pictures of food in there too, so we can have this all over the place. Let's check on our stuff here. Oh, we're sticking a little bit. Our onions are turning a little bit of color, but our rhubarb is trying to stick to the pan. But not really badly. But it does need a little bit more water. Where's my water glass? I drank my entire water glass. Water. I'm going to say, if you want to attempt this specific thing that I'm doing here at home, I would suggest caramelizing the onions first and then adding the rhubarb. I don't think there's any value to adding the rhubarb when I did. And it is making the onions harder to see. But a little bit of water picks up whatever was stuck to the bottom very well, and I don't see any burnt bits at all. So we just had a little bit of sticking on account of this being a stainless steel pan instead of a nonstick. We should all be using stainless steel instead of nonstick. Well, we should be using something other than nonstick whenever possible. There are some things that just kind of need a nonstick, but sure, I can do that. Hold on. Oh my God, somebody joined my Discord. Hold on, I can invite specifically you because we're Discord friends. Bam, you're invited. No need for links and rigmarole. As I said, though, there's nothing there yet. We'll work out how to do channels or what channels I want later. I have an idea. I have an idea for it because you can have Discord audio go through Twitch. So in theory, I could have live chatters from Discord talking to me live. Which could be fun. Obviously, tightly restricted to friends. Obviously, tightly restricted to friends. The most trustedest. Let me tell you, this stuff has gone a concerning shade of pink. A slightly disconcerting shade of pink. Let's compare. Let's compare. Let's compare. It is a bit less bright than pink bismuth. Let's taste it. There are some recognizable bits of onion still in it, so, but they are definitely getting. Good one now. Smaller and more soft. It's hot. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. What does that need? What does that need? It needs things. It's not on its own. It could use a little bit of sweetness, but it's actually not too sour. It's the thing that I think is throwing me off is that it has this butteriness to it. From 1 tablespoon of butter, it's got this butteriness to it. I was very unexpected. So I'm going to add a bit sugar. Like the first bite, the first thing that hit my tongue was like the flavor of onions sauteed in butter, followed by this sweet and sour like back end. But the tartness died off very quickly, which is why I'm going to add a sprinkle of lemon to it, because I think it needs to brighten itself up a little bit. It's weird. It's not what I was expecting. Okay, to be honest, I don't know what I was expecting. I was making this up. I had some vague concepts of where this might go, but 1 pat of butter, just to lubricate the pan, has resulted in a very buttery flavor. The rhubarb is fully broken apart at this point. It was neither sweet nor tart as a primary. The first thing that hit me was the savoriness of the onion, which is just a strange place to start with this. Added some sugar, added some lemon. Let's test it again. Also, it was hot. I think it might taste better cooled off a little bit. Okay, the lemon helps. The lemon helps. It's got more of a sharpness to it again, which is a good counterbalance to the butteriness, which is still there, but less pronounced. I think it's better. I think it tastes better now. I also think that I'm less surprised by it the second taste. It was a surprise the first taste was definitely a surprise. If we want this to be a jam, it might actually thicken up when we cool it off at this stage. There's not much pectin, if any at all, in either onions or rhubarb because they're not the fruity part of a fruit. They're both vegetables. But golly gee. I don't know that I want it to be any sweeter than this. I like it as sort of this strange tartness. I don't know what I would use this for. It's not bad. I'm not going to say it's great. It's not bad, and I don't know what to use it for. It's such a strange thing. I feel like it's not good for what I was originally cooking it for, which was to put on bread. But maybe that's what it needs. Maybe that's what it needs is a base, a neutral. It's pretty well mush at this point, except for that piece of onion right there, which I believe was part of the root end that didn't quite get diced up. All the rest of the onion has just gone to mush. We're not getting that beautiful browning from it because it's hidden by the pink of the rhubarb. Strange. It's lemon rhubarb jam. The lemon helped, yes. Also, welcome in, isosceles. The lemon definitely woke it up a bit. I think cooking the rhubarb weakens the acidity of it because it's much tartar. It's very, very sharp when you eat it normal. But cooking it seems to temper that quite a bit. I don't think I want to do anything else to it. We could add some spices, maybe. But I would rather have added those earlier. No, I'm not even going to do that. I'm not going to... I think we're going to call it done question mark. We're going to call it a done question mark. I'm not 100% sold on this one. I've got a jar. We're going to jar it up and let it cool and see if maybe it will be more appealing when it's not boiling hot. So stay tuned for that, I guess. That's going to be a bit because that stuff is boiling hot and very dense. We have an ad coming up, and I think we're going to end the stream before that ad plays. So let me snooze it real quick. Neighbor's dog is barking. Don't know if you can hear that. Probably not. We'll snooze that ad because I'm going to end the stream before that ad plays. We got about this much of it, which is a pretty substantial amount for half an onion and 4 pieces of rhubarb. Okay, well, we had an adventure today. We sure did. The shrimp and grits are delicious. The bread looks good, but we can't test it until it rests for another hour. And this stuff was just kind of weird. I do love doing weird experiments. They don't always work out, and this is one of those cases when it's just, I'm not sold. I think it might be better, let it cool off. I think that might tamp down some of the savory, aromatic flavor that's in there, and bring it more into a jammy state. But I don't know. It's like it's fighting with each other and just barely breaking even where it's not falling one way or the other. So I'll report back on that one. That one's a little bit weird. I just peeked my mic. Let's raid out. I've been here for 2.5 today. Let's raid out. Drop the love on somebody else. I haven't asked for raid recommendations in a while. Does anybody have a raid recommendation? A place they might. Oh, actually, I know where we're gonna go. Oh, it doesn't even recommend him. We are going to go raid Tokaji, who is participating in the Summer Game Fest special event. He's the organizer of the little streamer group that I'm a part of. He's been here in chat a few times, so we're going to go say hi to him. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking with me through the nonsense. The coming up with ideas and just faffing about until we had the bread, because we were all kind of trying to fill space around the bread. I will be back next week. Now that I've got a Discord, I guess I have to actually pay attention to it. Oh my God, everyone's jumping in. Yeah, so that's all I've got to say about that. I don't have anything else to say. I was just going to wait for the timer to run down. Let's wait for that timer to run down. 8, 6, 4, 1. Bam.